You are standing at the edge of a vast, rushing river. The water is cold and clear, and it moves with terrifying speed. You step closer to the bank to touch it. You cup your hands and try to hold it. You try to capture the force of the river in your palms. But the moment you tighten your grip, the water escapes. It leaves you with nothing but wet skin. This is the nature of a current. It requires movement to exist. Now, shift the scene in your mind. Imagine you drag a massive stone into the center of that riverbed. You pile up debris and mud until the flow stops completely. The roaring sound dies down. The water pools and sits still. Within days, that vibrant energy turns murky. It becomes a stagnant swamp. It becomes toxic. This is the fundamental mistake you make with your finances. You have been taught to view wealth as a static object. You view it as a pile of paper to be locked in a dark box. You view it as a stone. But look at the word itself, currency. It is derived from the Latin word correre, which means to run or to flow. Money is not the paper in your wallet or the digits on a screen. Money is the transfer of value. It is the kinetic energy of exchange moving between people. When you hoard out of fear, you build a dam. You stop the current. You create financial stagnation because you are treating a river like a rock. To build wealth, you must stop trying to capture the water in your hands. You must instead learn how to remove the stones and direct the river. Chapter 1. The illusion of paper. Most of us interact with money as if it were a solid object. We treat it like a brick that we must collect and stack to build a wall of safety. We look at the numbers in a bank account or the paper bills in a wallet, and we see a static accumulation of things. We count these things. We hoard these things. We worry when the pile of things gets smaller. But this fixation on the physical unit is a fundamental misunderstanding of what money actually is. The paper itself is an illusion. It is merely a ticket or a receipt for something far more dynamic. To understand the true nature of wealth, we must look at the language we use to describe it. We call it currency. Take a moment to consider the weight of that word. It shares its root with the word current. We speak of the current of a river or an electrical current. These terms come from the Latin word currere, which means to run or to flow. By its very definition, money is not a static object that sits still. It is a force that is meant to move. It is designed to run. It is designed to flow. Imagine a river winding through a valley. As long as the water flows, it brings life to the ecosystem. It irrigates the crops and sustains the animals and allows for travel and trade. The water is valuable, specifically because it is moving. Now imagine if you were to panic. Imagine you became terrified that the water might run out, so you built a massive concrete dam to trap it all in one place. You stop the flow completely. At first, you might feel secure, looking at your vast reservoir of water. But soon, the reality sets in. Without movement, the water creates a stagnant swamp. The life downstream dies off because the flow has stopped. The water in your reservoir sits still and begins to stagnate. It breeds algae and bacteria. It becomes toxic. By trying to capture and freeze the current, you have destroyed the very value you were trying to preserve. This is exactly what happens with money. When you view money as paper to be hoarded, you act like the dam. You stop the circulation. In economics, this is often called the velocity of money. When money moves from one hand to another, it creates value at every single stop. You buy bread from the baker, The baker uses that money to buy flour from the miller. The miller pays the farmer. The farmer pays the mechanic to fix his tractor. That single unit of currency has now facilitated 4 distinct value exchanges.
It has fed people and fixed machines and supported families. The wealth wasn't in the paper itself. The wealth was generated by the movement of the paper. When you grip the paper too tightly out of fear, you block this flow. You remove yourself from the cycle of exchange. This is why the miser who sleeps on a mattress stuffed with cash is often miserable and practically poor despite his hoarding. He has stopped the current. He has turned his river into a swamp. His money loses value over time due to inflation, which is the economic equivalent of evaporation and rot. The illusion of paper tricks us into thinking that wealth is a noun. We think wealth is a thing we possess. But in reality, wealth is a verb. It is an action. It is the capacity to direct the current. The wealthiest people in history were not those who simply built the biggest dam. They were the ones who dug the widest channels. They positioned themselves where the river flows the strongest, and they directed that energy into engines of production and service. To unblock the flow in your own life, you must stop looking at the snapshot of your bank balance and start looking at the movie of your economic activity. Are you a dam or are you a conduit? Do you stop the flow out of fear or do you direct the flow with purpose? When you understand that money is a current, you realize that you do not need to hold on to it forever. You only need to be in the position to direct where it goes. You must trust in the mechanics of the river. You must trust that by providing value and keeping the channels open, the current will continue to run through your life. If you are ready to remove the stones from your river and understand the deeper mechanics of this flow, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. We are building a library of insights here, and I would love for you to continue this narrative with us. Chapter 2: Etymology of Flow. To understand the true nature of money, we must look beneath the surface of the word itself. We handle bills and coins as if they are static objects. We stack them, we count them, we lock them in steel vaults. We treat them like stones gathered from a riverbed. But the language we use to describe this medium of exchange tells a very different story. It suggests that money is not the stone at all. It is the water. Consider the word currency. It is a word we use daily without a second thought. Yet hidden within its structure is the secret to how wealth actually operates. The word currency is derived from the Latin verb currere. This ancient root does not mean to store or to save or to accumulate. Currere means to run. It means to flow. It is the same root found in the word current, describing the steady, powerful movement of a river or the invisible surge of electricity. When we look at money through the lens of this etymology, our perspective shifts. We realize that money is not a thing you capture. It is a movement you participate in. Imagine standing on the banks of a rushing river. The water is clear, cold, and powerful. It supports life. It turns the wheels of mills. It quenches thirst. This is money in its healthy state. It moves from one hand to another, facilitating trade, solving problems, and compensating labor. As long as it moves, it generates value. The farmer buys seed. The seed seller buys tools. The toolmaker buys bread. The same unit of value travels through the community, revitalizing every person it touches. This is the currere. This is the current. Now imagine you decide to capture this wealth.
You believe that to possess the river is to secure your future. So you construct a massive concrete dam. You stop the flow. You hold the water back, refusing to let it pass downstream. At first, your reservoir looks impressive. You have an immense volume of water. But watch what happens as time passes. Without the flow, the water becomes still.
The oxygen levels drop. Algae blooms begin to choke the surface. The water turns murky and stagnant. It becomes toxic. By stopping the movement, you have destroyed the very essence of the river. It is no longer a life-giving force. It is a swamp. This is exactly what happens when we treat money as a static object to be hoarded, rather than a current to be directed. In economics, this is called the velocity of money. When money stops moving, the economy stagnates. But on a personal level, the effect is just as devastating. When you operate from a mindset of scarcity, you build a dam. You hold tight to what you have, terrified to let it go. You stop investing in yourself. You stop investing in your business. You stop spending on experiences that expand your perspective. You might think you are saving, but you are actually severing your connection to the larger economy. You are stepping out of the current. The money you hoard loses value over time, eaten away by inflation, just as stagnant water evaporates under the sun. It loses its utility. A distinct pile of cash that is never used is effectively worthless until the moment it is released back into the flow. The ancient Romans understood this intuitive link between movement and value. They knew that a chariot must race to win, and a runner must sprint to finish. That is, currere, action, motion, velocity. When you block the flow of money out of your life, you inadvertently block the flow of money into your life. This is not magic. It is a matter of cause and effect. In a physical system, a vacuum draws matter in. If a pipe is clogged, nothing can enter because nothing is leaving. By refusing to circulate your resources, you signal that you are a container, not a conduit. A container has a limit. Once it is full, it can receive no more. A conduit, however, has no limit. A pipe can transport millions of gallons of water over its lifetime, far more than any tank could ever hold, provided the water keeps moving. The wealthy understand that they are not the lake. They are the channel. They direct the current. They do not freeze it. They put their capital to work. They invest in assets that produce more value. They spend on services that save them time. They understand that for the current to be strong, the resistance must be low. We must unlearn the habit of viewing our bank accounts as storage units. We must start viewing them as gauges of flow. The goal is not to stop the river. The goal is to widen the channel. When you widen the channel of your skills, your output, and your willingness to engage with the market, you allow a greater volume of the current to pass through you. If you feel stuck financially, look for the dam. Look for the place where you have stopped the motion. Where have you stopped giving value? Where have you stopped investing in growth? Where have you decided that it is safer to be a stagnant pond than a rushing river? To reconnect with the source of value, we must respect the etymology of the word. We must return to currere. We must let it run. We must let it flow. Only then does the paper cease to be paper and become power. Chapter 3. The Stagnant Pond. Let us step away from the rushing river for a moment and turn our gaze toward a different body of water. Imagine a hollow in the earth where the rain has gathered but found no escape. There is no inlet and there is no outlet. The water sits motionless beneath the sun.
This is the stagnant pond. In nature, stillness is often the precursor to decay. Without the agitation of the current, oxygen levels drop. The water creates a breeding ground for bacteria and algae. It grows murky and thick. It becomes toxic to the very life it is supposed to sustain. If you attempt to drink from it, you will fall ill. If you leave it alone, it eventually turns into a swamp or evaporates entirely into the cracked earth. This image is the perfect representation of financial stagnation.
It is the direct opposite of currency. We must understand that the modern impulse to hoard money is psychologically identical to the creation of a stagnant pond. There is a prevailing belief that wealth is a static object. We are taught to view our bank accounts as storage vaults or silos. We believe that the goal is to fill the silo to the brim and then seal the doors tight. We think that if we stop the outflow, we are securing our survival. But money is not grain. It does not sit comfortably in a silo. Money is a medium of exchange. It is a representation of potential energy. When you arrest the movement of money, you are working against its fundamental nature. Consider the person who acts as the dam. This individual operates from a place of profound scarcity. They are terrified of letting value leave their hands. They pinch every penny, not out of strategic discipline, but out of fear. They refuse to invest in themselves. They refuse to invest in the market. They refuse to spend money on experiences or tools that could expand their capabilities. They believe they are saving, but in reality, they are stagnating. Just like the pond, their financial life begins to rot. The first sign of this rot is the erosion of value through inflation. This is the evaporation. If you lock your money in a box for 20 years, you have not preserved it. You have suffocated it. The world around the box has moved on. Prices have risen. Standards have changed. The purchasing power of that stagnant paper has evaporated into the air, leaving you with less than you started with. By refusing to let the money move, you have doomed it to diminish. The second sign of rot is the loss of opportunity. A river generates power because it moves. We place turbines in the water to capture that kinetic energy and turn it into electricity. This is how an economy works. You place your capital into a venture, a stock, or a business, and the movement of that capital generates a return. It creates a yield. When you dam the river to create your safe little pond, you kill the kinetic energy. There is no force to turn the turbine. You cannot generate wealth without motion. You can only stockpile paper, and as we have established, the paper itself is an illusion. This stagnation also poisons the mind. The person who hoards effectively blocks the inlet by blocking the outlet. It is a psychological mechanism. When you are terrified to let money go, you become blind to the ways money can come in. You stop looking for opportunities to provide value to others because you are too busy guarding what you already have. You stop taking the calculated risks required for growth. You retreat from the marketplace. You become isolated. The water creates a barrier between you and the rest of the economic ecosystem. You are no longer a participant in the trade of human effort. You are merely an observer, clutching a depreciating asset. To unblock the flow, you must dismantle the dam. This does not mean you spend recklessly. It does not mean you open the floodgates and drain the reservoir dry. That is foolishness. It means you must restore the current. You must view your resources as a stream that must pass through you, not stop at you. You receive value for your work, and you must direct that value outward into investments,
into assets or into personal growth that increases your future earning power. The water must remain cold and clear. It must move. If you find yourself paralyzed by the fear of spending or investing, visualize the green, murky water of the stagnant pond. Ask yourself if you are building a reservoir of life or a swamp of fear. The nature of currency is to run. It requires circulation to maintain its health. You cannot freeze the river and expect it to carry you anywhere. You must allow the current to resume its course. This is the only way to wash away the scarcity and restore the dynamic exchange that builds true, compounding wealth.
The dam must break. The water must flow. Chapter 4. The Architecture of the Dam. We have walked along the banks of the stagnant pond and seen the algae blooming on the surface. We understand that this stillness is the opposite of life. But stagnant ponds do not simply appear in the middle of a rushing river by accident. Something must intervene. Something must interrupt the natural descent of the water from the mountains to the sea. We must turn our attention now to the obstruction itself. We must look at the architecture of the dam. In the physical world, a dam is often considered a triumph of engineering. It is a massive concrete wall, curved against the weight of the water, designed to hold back millions of tons of pressure. It turns a wild river into a controlled reservoir. We look at the Hoover Dam or the Three Gorges Dam, and we see power. We see control. It makes sense that we try to replicate this structure in our financial lives. We believe that if we can just build a wall high enough and thick enough, we can trap security behind it. We think that if we stop the money from leaving our hands, we are safe. This is the fundamental error. A physical dam is designed to generate power by letting water move through it, not by keeping it trapped forever. If a dam stopped the flow entirely, the riverbed below would dry up and the ecosystem would die. Eventually, the water rising behind the wall would overtop it and destroy the structure. In your psychological landscape, you may have built a dam out of fear. The materials of this wall are not concrete and rebar. They are scarcity and anxiety. You view money as a solid object that must be captured and hidden away. You treat currency like a stone that you put in your pocket, rather than a current that must pass through your turbine to generate energy. When you refuse to spend or invest or circulate your resources, you are effectively closing the sluice gates. You are stopping the run. Recall the etymology we discussed. Currency comes from currere, which means to run or to flow. When you build a dam, you are fighting the very definition of the thing you are trying to accumulate. You are trying to freeze a river. Let us examine the mortar that holds this psychological dam together. It is usually a misunderstanding of value. You have likely been taught to look at the number in your bank account as a score. If the number is high, you feel successful. If the number is static, you feel safe. But money that sits still is not actually wealth. It is potential energy that is never released. It is a battery that is never plugged in. By hoarding every cent and refusing to participate in the cycle of exchange, you are not becoming wealthy. You are merely becoming the custodian of a stagnant pool. The pressure of this stagnation is real. In physics, water that is held back exerts force. The deeper the reservoir, the greater the pressure on the wall. In your financial life, this manifests as a constant, low-level panic. You become obsessed with protecting the pile.
You fear leaks. You fear cracks. You spend your mental energy guarding the gate rather than exploring the river. You are so afraid of the water leaving that you never allow new water to enter. This is the great paradox of the dam. A river cannot flow into a reservoir that is already full to the brim and refusing to release downstream. By blocking the outflow, you eventually block the inflow. The economy is a system of circulation. It functions like the human body. Your heart does not hoard your blood. It pumps it. It sends the blood away to the extremities to deliver oxygen and sustain life. And because it sends the blood away, the blood returns to be oxygenated again. If your heart decided to build a dam and keep the blood for itself, the system would fail. To unblock the flow, you do not need to destroy the dam with dynamite.
You do not need to engage in reckless spending or wash away your security in a flood of carelessness. You simply need to understand the function of the sluice gate. You must allow the current to move. You must trade the illusion of safety for the reality of flow. Realize that every time you exchange value, whether you are paying for a service, investing in a business, or buying a meal, you are allowing the river to run. You are creating a vacuum that draws more water in from upstream. The architecture of the dam is an architecture of fear. It is a structure built on the belief that there is not enough water in the mountains to keep the river running. But the water cycle is objective and continuous. It does not stop. You are the one who stopped. It is time to examine the cracks in your wall and ask yourself if the safety you feel is actually just isolation. Chapter 5: Erosion and the Clenched Fist. Consider the immense weight of the water now pressing against the wall you have built. In the previous chapter, we visualized the architecture of the dam, that great barrier constructed from fear and the desire for security. We often imagine that once the dam is finished, the work is done. We believe that by stopping the river, we have captured its power. We think we have won. But water is not a static element. It is relentless. When a current is forced to stop, it does not simply sit quietly. It begins to search. It probes every microscopic crack in the concrete. It seeks the weak points in the stone. It pushes against the foundation with a weight that grows heavier with every passing second. This leads us to the silent destroyer known as erosion. Erosion is usually thought of as the result of rushing water wearing down a cliff. But there is a different kind of erosion that happens in stagnation. When water sits still, it changes. The oxygen levels drop. The sediment settles and chokes the bottom. Algae blooms and creates toxicity. The life within the water begins to die. The fresh, clear stream you fought so hard to capture turns into a murky, stagnant swamp. This is the physical reality of the blocked current. Now, let us translate this back to the currency in your life. When you stop the flow of resources out of fear, when you hoard rather than steward, the value of what you hold begins to erode. We see this in the simplest economic terms as inflation, where money left under a mattress loses its purchasing power year by year. It is the water evaporating from the reservoir. But the psychological erosion is far more damaging. The act of stopping the flow requires constant vigilance. You become a guard rather than a participant. You must watch the dam day and night, terrified of the smallest leak. The energy you once used to create and build is now entirely consumed by the effort to protect and hoard. This is mental erosion. It wears down your peace of mind. It eats away at your ability to take risks. It degrades your capacity to trust. The asset you thought would bring you freedom has instead become a prison of your own making. This brings us to the human scale of this problem, symbolized by the clenched fist. I want you to try something right now. Take your hand and close it tight. Squeeze your fingers into your palm as hard as you can. Make a fist. Hold it. What do you feel? At first, you feel strength. You feel control. You have the sensation that whatever is inside that hand is safe. No one can take it from you. But keep holding it. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. Now notice what is happening to the circulation. The blood flow to your fingers is restricted. Your knuckles turn white. The muscles in your forearm begin to burn. The hand starts to tremble. The longer you maintain this state of extreme tension, the more painful it becomes. The hand becomes useless for any other task. You cannot pick up a tool. You cannot shake hands with a partner. You cannot receive anything new.
A clenched fist is a closed system. It is a biological dead end. This is the precise posture of the scarcity mindset. It is the physical manifestation of the blocked current. We cling to what we have earned, terrified that if we loosen our grip, it will all wash away. We mistake the circulation of money for the loss of money. We forget the etymology we discussed earlier. Currency is meant to run. It is meant to move. When you clench your fist around water, what happens? You do not capture it. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips through the cracks between your fingers until your hand is empty and wet. Water requires a cup, a channel, or a riverbed. It requires a container that supports flow, not a grip that demands submission. The clenched fist is an attempt to defy the physics of the market and the psychology of value. By refusing to spend, invest, or circulate, you are trying to freeze a liquid. You are trying to turn the current into a stone. But the nature of the current is movement. If you succeed in stopping it completely, you have destroyed its utility. Money that does not move is indistinguishable from paper. It is the movement that transforms the paper into power. The erosion behind the dam and the pain in the clenched fist tell us the same story. The blockage is unnatural. It is unsustainable. The pressure will eventually find a way out. The dam will break, causing a catastrophic flood that destroys everything in its path. Or the water will simply evaporate, leaving you with nothing but dry mud. The fist will eventually cramp and fail, or it will be forced open by necessity. The alternative is not to become careless. It is not to tear down the walls and let the water vanish into the sand. The alternative is to understand the difference between a reservoir and a river. A reservoir holds water for a season to release it when needed. It has sluice gates. It has spillways. It allows the current to pass through, generating power as it goes. A clenched fist must learn to become an open hand, a hand that can carry, a hand that can build, and most importantly, a hand that can release. You must realize that the tension you feel, the anxiety about your finances, is often not caused by a lack of water. It is caused by the exhaustion of holding the dam together. It is the cramp in the muscle of your mind that has forgotten how to let go. To unblock the flow, we do not need to summon more water from the sky. We need to examine the barriers we have built and the grip we are refusing to relax. We need to look at the erosion and acknowledge that the safety we thought we were building is actually a slow form of destruction.
Chapter 6. The Inlet and the Outlet. Let us return to the mechanics of the river. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. The inlet and the outlet. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics. Let critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. What is the inlet and the outlet? Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. Let us return to the mechanics with critical inlet into the game. We have established that money is not a static object to be collected, but a current to be directed. We understand that a dam, built from the stones of fear and scarcity, arrests this motion. But to truly dismantle the dam and restore the hydrology of your financial life, we must understand the two fundamental components of any flow system. These are the inlet and the outlet. In the physical world, a pipe cannot function if it is capped at either end. It becomes a sealed vessel. If you block the exit, the pipe fills up, the pressure mounts, and eventually, the flow ceases entirely because there is simply no room for anything new to enter. This is a concept that defies our intuitive grasp of wealth. We are taught to obsess over the inlet. We fixate entirely on income. We stand by the dry riverbed, widening our nets, begging for rain, and demanding that more water enters our system. We believe that if the inlet is large enough, our anxiety will vanish. However, the laws of flow dictate that the capacity of the inlet is determined by the capacity of the outlet. You cannot fill a cup that is already full. If you wish to receive more,
you must make space. This creates a paradox that paralyzes many aspiring builders of wealth. To increase the flow coming in, one must often address the flow going out. Consider the psychological state of the hoarder. The hoarder is terrified of the outlet. They view every dollar spent as a dollar lost. They view every payment as a defeat. When the bill comes for dinner, or the rent is due, or a business expense arises, they feel a physical contraction in their chest. They hand over the currency with hesitation and resentment. This emotional resistance acts exactly like a clog in a drain. It restricts the diameter of the outlet. When you restrict the outlet, you stop the circulation. Money that sits stagnant in a bank account, guarded by fear,
is no longer currency. It has reverted to being paper. It creates no value for others, and therefore the marketplace, which is simply the aggregate of human exchange, has no reason to send more value back to you. The circuit is broken. There is a principle in hydraulics known as the siphon effect. When liquid leaves a container through a tube, it creates a vacuum behind it. This negative pressure pulls more liquid from the source to fill the void. The departure of the water is the very mechanism that summons new water. In the realm of economics, this translates to the speed of turnover. The wealthy do not focus on how much money sits idle in the vault. They focus on how fast the money moves. They understand that money must be released into investments, into assets, into wages, and into services to generate the momentum required to pull returns back in. This is not a justification for reckless spending or waste. There is a profound difference between a broken pipe that leaks water into the mud and a hydroelectric turbine that channels water to generate power. Wasting money is a leak. Circulating money is a turbine. The inlet and the outlet must be synchronized. If your outlet is wide but your inlet is narrow, you run dry. This is the state of poverty and debt. But if your inlet is wide and your outlet is welded shut, you invite disaster. The pressure builds. The stagnant water breeds rot. Relationships suffer because generosity is stifled. Opportunities wither because capital is not deployed. Eventually, the pipe bursts, often in the form of catastrophic loss or health crises brought on by the stress of maintenance. You must view your financial life not as a storage tank, but as a conduit. You are the aqueduct. Your role is to govern the quality and direction of the current. When you pay a bill, you must do so with the understanding that you are clearing the channel. You are completing a necessary interaction that signals you are an active participant in the economy. When you invest, you are widening the outlet, allowing the stream to feed into a larger ocean, which in turn feeds the rain that fills your river. If you feel stuck, if the money has stopped coming in, do not just stare at the horizon waiting for a check. Look down at the dam you have built at the exit. Look at where you are stinging. Look at where you are holding on too tight. The clenched fist cannot receive, because the clenched fist is already full of itself. Open the hand. Clear the debris from the outlet. Let the current run through you, and you will find that the inlet takes care of itself. The river wants to flow. You simply have to stop preventing it. Chapter 7. Velocity of the Stream. Let us now look closely at the speed of the water. You have understood that the water must flow in and it must flow out. But there is a third variable that determines the health of the river and the power it generates. That variable is velocity. Imagine a massive reservoir held back by concrete walls. It holds billions of gallons of water. It is heavy and deep and impressive to look at. But if that water is perfectly still, it generates no electricity. It sits in silence. It exerts pressure against the walls, but it does not do work. Now imagine a narrow channel where the water rushes through at 50 miles per hour. That rushing water hits the turbine blades with tremendous force. The movement transforms into power. The electricity that lights a city comes from the movement of the water, not merely the existence of the water. This brings us to a fundamental misunderstanding of wealth. We often mistake net worth for financial power. We look at the reservoir and think that the goal is simply to fill it to the brim. We believe that security comes from a static pile of cash that sits untouched for decades.
But money, like water, relies on circulation to maintain its value and its utility. In economics, there is a specific term for this. It is called the velocity of money. This concept measures the frequency at which one unit of currency is used to purchase goods and services within a given time period. In simpler terms, it is the number of times a single dollar bill changes hands. When you buy a coffee, the barista uses that dollar to buy milk. The farmer uses that dollar to buy seed. The seed merchant uses that dollar to buy fuel. In a high-velocity environment, that single piece of paper facilitates 4 or 5 transactions in a single day. It creates value for 5 different people. It is alive. It is a current that nourishes the banks on both sides of the river. Now consider the alternative. You act out of fear. You take that dollar and you lock it in a steel box. You bury it in the backyard or leave it in a checking account that yields nothing. The velocity drops to 0. The current stops. That dollar provides no value to the barista or the farmer or the merchant. But crucially, it also provides no return to you. It is just paper, slowly losing its value to inflation. It is a pond beginning to stagnate. The blockage here is not always external. It is often an internal governor on the speed of your own stream. When we feel scarcity, we instinctively try to slow down the river. We think that by slowing the exit of money, we are preserving our wealth. We squeeze the hose. But what happens when you obstruct a fast-moving stream? The pressure builds up behind the obstruction. If the water cannot move forward, it becomes turbulent. It erodes the banks. It seeks a new path that might bypass you entirely. To increase the velocity of your own stream, you must trust the mechanics of the inlet and the outlet. You must be willing to let resources move. This does not mean reckless spending or waste. It means strategic movement.
It means investing capital so that it works rather than sleeps. It means purchasing services that free up your time to create more value. It means keeping the inventory moving rather than letting it gather dust on a shelf. Think back to the turbine. The engineer does not worry that the water is leaving the dam. The engineer knows that the water must leave the dam to turn the blades. If the engineer panicked and shut the floodgates to save the water, the lights would go out. The power is in the passage. The power is in the letting go. When you allow your resources to move with velocity, you prevent the buildup of sediment. In a slow river, silt and mud settle on the bottom. The river becomes shallow and murky. Sunlight cannot reach the riverbed. Algae blooms and chokes the life out of the water. This is the physical reality of a stagnant economy or a stagnant personal mindset. When you hoard resources out of a fear of poverty, you create a shallow, murky financial life. You become afraid to invest in yourself. You become afraid to repair your home or expand your business.
The silt builds up until the water can barely move at all. You want your financial life to resemble a mountain torrent, not a swamp. A torrent is self-cleaning. The force of the water pushes away debris and sediment. It stays oxygenated and fresh. A swamp is still. It collects rot. It breeds decay. The difference is not the water itself. It is the same hydrogen and oxygen. The difference is the speed at which it travels. When you unblock the flow, you are essentially removing the friction that slows down this movement. You are allowing the currency to do what it was named to do. You are allowing it to run. Chapter 8. Dredging the Channel. We have spoken of the velocity of the water and the removal of the dam. We have analyzed the inlets and the outlets that regulate the volume of the stream. Yet there remains a more subtle enemy to the flow of currency.
It is not an obstacle that stands tall and obvious in front of the stream. It is the rising floor beneath it. This is the phenomenon of silt. In the natural world, a river rarely carries only clear water. It carries sediment. It carries sand and mud and debris. When the water moves with high velocity, this sediment stays suspended in the flow. But the moment the current slows down or the river widens, the sediment begins to drop. It settles quietly to the bottom. Over months and years, this layer grows thick. The river might look exactly the same from the surface. The banks are in the same place, and the water reflects the same sky. But underneath the surface, the capacity is shrinking. The channel is becoming shallow. In your financial life, this silt is the accumulation of inefficiency. It is the friction of disorganization. It is the subscription you forgot to cancel 3 years ago. It is the late fee you pay because you did not open the envelope. It is the habit of buying convenience because you failed to plan your day. These are not boulders blocking the river. They are the soft mud raising the riverbed. They reduce the total volume of currency you can handle without overflowing. Consider the physics of a shallow channel. When a river is deep, it can absorb a sudden storm. A torrential rain adds water to the system, and the river simply swells and moves faster. It contains the energy. But when the channel is shallow from years of accumulated silt, a sudden rainstorm is a disaster. The water has nowhere to go but over the banks. It floods the fields and destroys the homes. It becomes a destructive force. This explains the common tragedy of the lottery winner, or the athlete who signs a massive contract and goes bankrupt within 5 years. Observers look at them and ask how it is possible to lose such a vast fortune. The answer is hydraulic. They tried to force an ocean of water through a creek filled with mud. The volume exceeded the depth of the channel.
The money did not flow, it flooded. And when the floodwaters receded, they left nothing but ruin behind. To carry a heavy volume of currency, you must deepen the channel. We call this dredging. In civil engineering, dredging is the act of bringing in heavy machinery to scrape the bottom of the waterway. It scoops out the accumulated muck to restore the depth required for heavy ships to pass. In the architecture of wealth, dredging is not glamorous work. It is not the excitement of the sale or the thrill of the investment. It is the dirty work of maintenance. It requires you to wade into the muck of your own habits and start digging. It means sitting down with the bank statements that terrify you. It means looking at the debt you have been ignoring because the number makes you anxious. It involves the painful extraction of old beliefs. You might find a deep layer of sediment that says you are not smart enough to understand taxes. You might find a layer of mud that suggests money is evil, or that poverty is a virtue. These beliefs are not spiritual truths. They are just dirt that has settled on the floor of your mind. They take up space that should be occupied by current. You must pull these heavy, wet clumps of mud out of the riverbed and toss them onto the bank to dry. The process of dredging creates clarity. When you audit your expenses, you are removing debris. When you automate your savings, you are reinforcing the banks. When you educate yourself on how markets function, you are digging the channel deeper. You are preparing the vessel for a heavier load. Notice the difference between a shallow brook and a deep river. The brook is noisy. It babbles and splashes over every tiny pebble. It is chaotic. A deep river is silent. It moves with a terrifying, quiet power. The Amazon River does not splash. It simply moves millions of tons of water with inevitable force. Wealth that is sustainable is quiet because the channel is deep enough to hold it.
The person who has dredged their channel does not panic when the market shifts. They have the depth to absorb the fluctuation. They do not feel the need to flash their money or make noise like the shallow brook. They know the current is there. They know the flow is unobstructed. You must look at your own financial life and ask where the bottom lies. Is your channel deep enough to hold the success you claim to want? If you poured $1 million into your life today, would it flow smoothly toward a purpose? Or would it spill over the banks and wash you away? Do not wait for the rain to start digging. The time to dredge the channel is when the water is calm. You remove the silt of bad habits. You scrape away the mud of ignorance. You deepen the bed of your character. Then, when the current arrives, you will not just survive the flow, you will direct it. Chapter 9. The Water Wheel. You have dredged the channel. You have removed the heavy stones of fear and cleared away the silt of bad habits. The river of currency now flows through your life without obstruction. It arrives with velocity and it departs with ease. But here is the danger of a clear channel. A river that flows without interruption is merely a spectacle. It is beautiful to look at and soothing to hear, but it accomplishes nothing. It washes over the riverbed and moves on to the sea, leaving no trace of its power behind. This is the reality for many who have solved the problem of income, but not the problem of wealth. They have high flow. Money rushes in through high salaries or big contracts, and rushes out through expenses and lifestyle costs. The water moves fast, the volume is high, yet the landscape remains unchanged. The river is just a conduit. To transform the raw force of this current into something usable, you must build a machine. You must construct the water wheel. The water wheel is an ancient piece of engineering that perfectly understands the nature of current. It does not try to stop the river. It does not try to drink the river. It simply positions itself within the flow to capture kinetic energy. Look closely at how it functions. The wheel sits perpendicular to the stream. It dips its paddles into the rushing water. It offers a calculated amount of resistance. This is the crucial concept: resistance. If the wheel offers zero resistance, it spins wildly out of control. It generates no torque. This is the person who spends money as fast as they make it. The wheels of their life spin fiercely, but the gears do not engage. There is motion, but there is no traction. Conversely, if the wheel offers too much resistance, it becomes a dam.
It tries to block the water entirely. The pressure builds up against the paddles until the wood snaps or the axle breaks. This is the miser who refuses to spend or invest. They halt the flow to hoard the volume, and eventually, the pressure of inflation and missed opportunity breaks their accumulation. The properly balanced water wheel allows the water to pass through, but it demands a toll. It extracts momentum. In the world of finance, this wheel is your asset column. It is the business you build. It is the portfolio you curate. It is the skill set you refine. When the current of money hits these structures, it turns the gears of your life. The water keeps moving downstream, but you have harvested its energy. You have turned the abstract concept of currency into the concrete reality of power. Notice that the water leaving the wheel is just as important as the water entering it. The outlet must be clear. If the water cannot leave the wheel cannot turn. The backlog of water would submerge the paddles and the rotation would cease. This is why spending is not the enemy of wealth. Spending is the exit strategy of the current. It is the release that allows the wheel to complete its revolution. The question is not whether you spend, but what your spending drives.
Does the water leaving your hands turn a wheel that grinds grain for your future? Or does it simply splash against the rocks? Construction of this wheel requires a shift in perspective. You stop looking at money as an object to be collected in a basket. You start seeing it as a force to be directed against a surface. You begin to ask different questions. You do not ask, how much water is in the pond? You ask, how much torque is on the axle? You focus on the mechanism of capture. This is a physical and psychological architecture. It requires patience to build the frame. You have to shape the wood and grease the bearings. In the beginning, the wheel is heavy. It takes a massive amount of current just to get it to complete a single rotation. This is the early stage of building a business or an investment. You pour resources in and see very little movement. The friction is high, the inertia is immense, but you do not stop the flow. You trust the physics of the lever and the axle. Eventually, the momentum takes over. The current catches the paddle just right, and the great wheel begins to heave forward. Then it turns again and again. Soon, the weight of the wheel itself becomes an asset. Its mass stores the energy, making the rotation smooth and continuous, even if the river level fluctuates slightly. This is the state of financial stability. It is not a static pile of gold. It is a heavy wheel, turning with unstoppable momentum, fed by a constant stream. When you understand this, you stop fearing the departure of money. You watch it leave your account with the same calmness as a miller watching water exit the sluice. You know that its departure is necessary for the next gallon to arrive. You know that in its passing, it has pushed against your structure and turned the stone. The current has done its work. The water is not the point. The rotation is the point. The flour produced by the mill is the point. The water is just the method of delivery. Do not try to be the lake. Lakes create stagnation. Be the engineer of the wheel. Build structures that sit in the violent center of the flow and refuse to move downstream, but allow the water to pass through them. Let the current strike your assets. Let the friction generate heat and power. Let the water flow onto the ocean. You do not need to own the water. You only need to harness the turn. This is how you respect the nature of the current. You do not trap it. You use it. Chapter 10. Navigating the Rapids. You have built the wheel. You have dredged the mud from the bottom of the channel. The inlet is open and the outlet is clear.
Now comes the part of the journey that few warn you about: the speed. When a river is healthy and the volume increases, the water does not just sit there, it accelerates. This is the moment when the gentle stream turns into white water. This is the section of the map marked by rapids. Navigating the rapids of wealth is a distinct skill from simply unclogging a drain. In the early stages, the work was about removing obstacles. It was about digging and cleaning. But once the money begins to flow with real velocity, the challenge shifts. It becomes about balance and reaction time. Imagine a rafter approaching a stretch of turbulent water. The noise rises first, the roar of the current crashing against rocks. This is the equivalent of high-stakes business or rapid portfolio growth. It is loud, it is chaotic, and it is terrifying if you are not prepared. The instinct of the uninitiated is to freeze. When the financial waters get rough or move too fast, the average person grabs the sides of the boat and shuts their eyes. They stop making decisions. They stop steering. In the world of money, this looks like paralysis. It is the investor who sells at the bottom because the volatility scared them. It is the business owner who refuses to hire help because they are afraid of losing control of the cash flow. They are in the rapids, but they have let go of the rudder. The river treats a drifting boat with no mercy. Without direction, the craft will strike the rocks broadside. This is how fortunes are capsized. The mistake was not the speed of the water. The speed is energy. The speed is potential. The mistake was passivity in the face of power. To navigate the rapids, you must understand the nature of the current. You do not fight the river. You cannot stop the economy from fluctuating any more than you can stop gravity. The water will move where it wants to move. Your job is to align your vessel with the flow while maintaining your own momentum. Experienced rafters know that to steer in a fast current, you must actually move faster than the water. If you move slower than the current, you have no control. The water pushes you. If you match the speed of the current, you are adrift. But if you paddle, and if you add your own velocity to the river, you gain the ability to turn. This is a profound realization for anyone managing significant resources. You cannot simply float. To steer your finances when the pressure is high, you must make decisions with conviction. You must be proactive rather than reactive. There will be rocks. These are the unexpected expenses, or the market corrections, or the sudden shifts in consumer demand. If you stare at the rock, you will hit the rock. This is a rule of the river and a rule of the mind. Fixating on the debt or the loss draws you toward it. The pilot looks at the gap. They look at the clear water rushing between the obstacles. They focus entirely on where they want the boat to go, not on the disaster they are trying to avoid. The rapids are also where the channel narrows. The pressure builds. In financial terms, this is the point of maximum leverage. It is where risk is highest, but so is the reward. The water here is oxygenated and alive. It is fresh. It is not the stagnant pond we left behind. Do not resent the turbulence.
A river without rapids is often a river that is flattening out and losing its pitch and its power. Turbulence means there is movement. It means there is change. The goal is not to find a river that never moves. The goal is to become a captain who does not panic when the spray hits your face. You learn to read the water. You see the eddies where you can rest for a moment. You see the main tongue of the current where the ride is smoothest. You stop asking for the river to slow down. Instead, you ask for a stronger paddle and a keener eye. As you pass through the white water, you realize something fundamental. The danger was never really the water. The danger was your own hesitation. The current is neutral. It cuts through stone and washes over banks without malice. It simply follows the laws of physics. When you respect those laws, and when you understand that flow requires direction, you stop fearing the rapids. You begin to enjoy the ride. You realize that this speed is exactly what you were dredging the channel for in the first place. You wanted the flow. Now you have it. Steer it. The ocean. We finally arrive at the mouth of the river, where the fresh water meets the salt. This is the ocean. In the context of our study, this vast body of water represents the global marketplace. It is deep, indifferent, and constantly in motion. Throughout this journey, we have dismantled the illusion that wealth is a static object to be guarded in a vault. We have replaced that outdated image with the reality of a current that must move to survive. To truly participate in this ocean, you cannot simply stand on the shore and hope for the tide to rise. You must become an active vessel that facilitates exchange. Remember that money which stops moving loses its functional definition as currency. It devolves into stagnant paper or meaningless digital code. Real wealth is found in the velocity of the value you provide to other people. You are no longer a stagnant pond or a blocked dam.
You are an open channel connecting to the sea. The water enters your life. It is directed toward a purpose, and it leaves to circulate back again. This is the discipline of the current. You do not own the water. You simply direct its flow.